super excited to talk to everybody today about my company, Human Interest, and some of the things going on, such as the Secure Act 2.0 that you may or may not have heard about, and how that's impacting small businesses today, along with state retirement mandates. So a little bit of background about me. Like Doug said, I'm born and raised here in the Bay Area from Campbell, California. My grandparents migrated from Italy in the mid-1940s. My grandpa realized, hey, at a age back then when things were kind of booming here in the Bay Area, to start his own company and his own business. So he created his own carpet cleaning and commercial and residential cleaning business that my dad still runs today, something like 60 years later. So I have great appreciation for the small business and the grit and the grind and the entrepreneurship that we all go through as business owners. So to live through that, I'd love to tell my story and how it relates to what I'm doing today. So first off, I'm with Human Interest. I'm a partnership manager. I help provide education on things such as the Secure Act, such as state mandates, especially here in California, how it relates to the retirement industry. Human Interest is essentially a 401k and 403b company. Let's see here. I'm going to go through my slide deck. So here's me. There's a QR code. I'm going to show this again later in the presentation if you'd like to get in touch with me. I do have some free goodies for anybody that would like to have some free swag. For the first 15 people, I'm going to send you a Yeti cooler mug just for joining today. So look forward to that. We have some other goodies that I'll send to you guys for taking the time to hang out with us today. A little bit about Human Interest. And then real quick as a disclaimer, feel free to put any questions in the chat if you have any questions that arise. We'll be monitoring that, Doug and I. So feel free to do those real time if any questions come up during the presentation, and we'll address those as well. But just to kind of give you a background on what Human Interest is and what we do, right there at the top left. So we've gone through 5 rounds of funding. We raised a $50 million round in January, led by BlackRock. So we are kind of giving back to the small business community because of that funding, and I'll explain that a little bit later. We do have over 15,000 clients that are utilizing our 401k or 403b platforms for retirement. And of those 15,000 clients, businesses, that makes up for a little over 475,000 individuals today that are utilizing the Human Interest platform to save for their financial future. We're the first company to offer 0 transaction fees. This is going to be a little topic that we're going to talk about as far as auto enrollment. So those companies that have auto enrollment set up, we're seeing 90% participation rate for participants that are contributing to their 401k and their financial future. And I'll talk a little bit about how that relates to the Secure Act as we move forward. Currently over 800 employees as a company. And then this is something that's really cool. We're not going to go into detail about this, but we're the very first 401k company to offer cash back to those 475,000 plus participants that are on our platform from our company. So that's something that we're doing to help reward those businesses that have employees on our platform. And then trust radius and overall ratings. We have fairly high ratings, some of the highest in the 401k space, because 401k is only United States of America financial product. You can't, in Canada and overseas, there's no 401k. So what we've done is we've created a support center that's launching next month in Utah. So all of our support contacts, when our clients call in, will have a live person here in the United States in Utah to talk about anything related to their plan. And our mission essentially is to help all people in all lines of work gain access to retirement because of the Secure Act and the mandates that are penetrating into the small business world. So just a real quick disclosure, I am not a financial advisor. I'm not here to give you financial advice, more of just education on these programs and what they entail. Human Interest is a full service 401k and 403b provider for small and medium-sized companies. So let's get into it. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk about the retirement landscape today. And why is that important? What legislation is doing about that, right? And where state mandates are today. There's 16 states that have active mandates for retirement, including California, and how the Secure Act fits into that, and how offering a retirement benefit can be a valuable tool for your business and help attract and retain good people, and basically how Human Interest is helping in this space. And then we'll save some time for Q&A, of course, at the end here. So let's get into it. So this here is kind of a snapshot on some key numbers on retirement today. So 1 in every 4 people in the United States do not have a retirement savings, which is pretty astonishing if you think about it. When you look around, 1 out of every 4 people that probably doesn't have any type of retirement save for their future. And of those people that do have retirement, it is estimated that the median retirement savings is around 120,000 for those approaching retirement in today's world. So more than likely, that's less than what we could probably all afford to live on in retirement, which equals to about $1,000 per month over the course of a 15-year retirement plan for these folks that are retiring. So that number is fairly low as well. And then more than 3/4 of working Americans are not on track to have sufficient savings by the age of 67. So these are some astonishing numbers, and this is why legislation has kind of put the Secure Act in place for small businesses to help their employees start saving for retirement. So key trends within the retirement and benefit space, and we're kind of all seeing this today and all, in our business world, is that there's financial concerns have increased since the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, you saw what was called kind of like the Great Resignation, right? Some folks either were getting let go, maybe leaving their jobs, not happy, starting their own small business, maybe going into their passion projects and wanting to do something different and having this epiphany, right? But because of the pandemic and inflation, you're seeing, the cost of living go up, and that's affecting all of our pockets, right? So the more financial awareness and financial future for us as individuals is, on the radar, especially across the country. And then employees want benefits that supports their financial well-being, right? What you're seeing now is, you're reading about, these large companies, letting people go. And that's just these large companies, right? So you have mid-market companies as well. I mean, I have peers and friends that have been, let go and looking for new work. So employees want those benefits that will help them feel, welcomed, really want to be motivated to work for a new organization. And sometimes to get those large benefits, they may have to go to a smaller company. If that smaller company, say, doesn't have a 401k or some type of plan sponsored, maybe that talent will look elsewhere to go to another organization, right? And then the retirement legislation and how that's being addressed today. And we're going to get into that here. So first things first is the state mandates, and this has kind of been in the works now for a few years, right? So we'll start with California, because we're all here in the sunny state of California, right? So as of June 30th of last year, in 2022, it took effect where if a company has 5 employees that are 18 or over and they're W-2'd, even if they're part-time, they must provide those employees a retirement option in their benefit infrastructure, right? So that's at 5 employees. And to give you an example, in Oregon, as of this month, they're scaling it down to 2 employees. And California and Oregon are two states, along with Illinois, where there is penalties involved if the state says, hey, you don't have a retirement set up, we notice that, because we'll notify the state if they have a program in place. They'll penalize each employee in California. Say if you have 10 employees on payroll, $250 per employee. So you want to kind of stay off that red flag list if that's the case. And we're here to help you, educate you on, how we can avoid that. So, but that's kind of what you're seeing across the country, right? California is the first to kind of have these hefty penalties, but also about 98% of the states, as you can see on the map here, have a mandate in place. 16 states are currently active, but the other states have it on their bill and they're being proposed on the bill. So what you're seeing, and this relates to the Secure Act, in the next 3 years, essentially 98%, if not more, of the states are going to be mandated that all small businesses have some type of retirement in place for their infrastructure and for their employees, right? So what does that mean? What is the Secure Act and what can that do? So the Secure Act passed in December through the Senate and the House, and it took effect in January of this year. But what it is allowing is for small businesses that set up a retirement plan, such as a 401k or 403b, in 2023, they're allowed to get tax credits, and essentially their service fees that they would pay to a provider back on their tax credit on their business taxes at the end of the year. So first things first, auto enrollment will be required. And I talked about this a little bit on our slide earlier where it showed 90% participation rate. In 2025, what the Secure Act is authorizing or requiring is that all businesses that have a 401k, it must be set up on auto enrollment, right? So you may get pushback from employees, you may get employees that love that, right? So it just depends, and that's where you can have it set up, but it's going to be required. What the Secure Act is doing now for those companies that have a 401k set up now, they're allowing for tax credits. So not only will, for example, and I'll get into kind of an example in the next slide, but basically for the service fees that an employer pays to a company, say like a human interest or 401k provider, they'll get up to $5,000 back on their tax return as a tax credit if there are 50 employees or under. If they're between 51 to 100 employees, they'll get roughly 50% of those administrative costs, or up to $5,000 back on their tax return as a tax credit. To go even further, because of this auto enrollment, what's happening is they're adding an additional $500. So if I'm a business owner today and I say, you know what, I'm going to set up a 401k, I need to set up, I'm going to support the Secure Act, and I'm going to do auto enrollment, they're adding an additional $500 per year as a tax credit just for having auto enrollment set up, because in the anticipation in 3 years, it's going to be required anyways. So the businesses that are ahead of the game, ahead of the gun, getting this set up are getting a little bit more of a tax credit just for having that set up. And then there's also a thing called for employer contributions for employers that want to offer a match, and a match is not required on every 401k plan, but for those employers that are offering a match, for those employees that actually make under 100k in salary, the employer will get $1,000 tax credit for each employee that's 100k or below on their salary. So those are some other rewards that tax rewards that the Secure Act implies here. But let's go into kind of a quick example of just an assumption of a small business, 30 employees, they're sponsoring a new plan in 2023, and say, for example, based off of those administrative costs, they're going to pay roughly $4,000 a year to a company like Human Interest for their 401k plan to be administered, right? That includes full service bundled solution that we offer. We are the record keeper, 5,500 form filer. We take liability for the business on their 401k plan. And then the plan says, okay, you know what? We want to set up auto enrollment. So real simple math here, just to kind of show you what the tax credits will look like, right? So 100% set up, because their service fees are under 5,000, they're going to get for each year $4,000 tax credit on their tax return for their business taxes. So they'll get a $12,000 tax credit for the next 3 years just for setting up a 401k, which helps offset those costs for them to set up a plan. And then it helps get them prepared for the Secure Act, right? So what they did was they're going to set up auto enrollment as well. So you get an additional $1,500, and then in 3 years, that's going to be required anyway. So in the grand scheme of things, this company is getting $13,500 in tax credits for you setting up a 401k and getting prepared for 2025 when this is all effective, especially here in California. So this doesn't include the match benefit of $1,000 per employee if they're $100,000 salary or less, right? So if you had 5 employees that were making $95,000 and you had an employee match or an employer match, say those 3 employees would save you another $3,000 in tax credits per year on top of that as well. So just to kind of give you some numbers there. Why business owners want to consider a retirement benefit, right? And I can relate to this, especially coming from a family business, right? Helping, may help boost your employee retention and morale, really attracting those people that really want to work for your company and, think of your company as the way for them to help save for their financial future, gaining a competitive edge as a job seeker, as they weigh in offers, right? And comply with state retirement mandates and new legislation. I think that's one of the most important things for business owners regarding these mandates and the Secure Act, and a good opportunity to shelter taxes, right? So I kind of use a funny story when my dad, when this came to the mandate last year, I said, Dad, you have 6 employees on payroll. You need to provide a retirement option. And he was, we come from an Italian family. So of course there's a little more obscene gestures throughout our conversation going on. And I said, look, you look at it like this. Either you want to save some money for your retirement, you'll get a tax break, or you can give that money to the government in your taxes. So pick option A or option B. And so then it made sense to him, like, okay, I see what you're saying. So sometimes business owners need that little push or just clarification, but for the more savvy owners that get it, this is a tool that you can utilize to help, for your employees and gain, those good employees to your company. So human interest, and it helps starting a 401k affordable. So how are we helping with all those 15,000 plus clients of ours, all the 475,000 plus, people on our platform today saving for retirement as employees of these companies? So we support the Secure Act and the tax credit, right? So we will provide you the necessary forms at the end of each year to give to your trusted advisor or your tax professional about, what you need to do to get those service fees reimbursed. We are the first in the industry to issue what's called a tech credit. This is something not related to the Secure Act, but because of all the funds that we've recently raised through the 5 rounds of funding, we give back to businesses. We don't charge them a setup fee like some of these other providers will charge you $1,000 or $2,000 just to set it up. We actually give new businesses starting at $500 for using our platform. So we try to make the transition as easy as possible and then reap the benefits of the Secure Act and the tax benefits as well, which our team really helps you educate you on how to get that set up and be prepared for that. And then conversion reimbursement. So sometimes when you're in a current 401k plan and you realize like, hey, maybe I'm spending a little bit too much. Maybe I'm not reaping the full benefits of the Secure Act and I'm not really getting almost a free 401k program for the next 3 years. We help companies come off of their plans because sometimes what these companies will do is charge them a cancellation fee or a deconversion fee. We will cover up to $1,500 to help that company make the transition so you're on more of a subscription-based model platform like Human Interest that's lower cost, that's going to support the Secure Act, that will help businesses essentially pretty much get almost a free 401k service for the next 3 years. Let's see here. How are we doing on time, Doug? Do we have any questions? Just kind of want to pause.
No questions yet. I think we're doing just fine.
Okay. So grand scheme of things, Secure Act is here. Businesses that are taking advantage of it and the rewards with that are taking effect today. Where we fit in and how we help those businesses and how we've grown so rapidly in the past 7 years in our existence is through our integrations with payroll. And I actually see one of my Prime Pay payroll partners here on the call today, Malia. So we work together. So essentially what that means is we integrate with payroll companies to make the experience very seamless for the small business owners, because we understand as business owners, you have many hats, especially small business, startup companies, you have a lot of moving parts. One less thing to worry about is the liability with a 401k plan, dealing with the IRS, dealing with the reporting, right? So we are a full service bundled solution, kind of like the Netflix subscription model that we're all accustomed to today. But the key thing is we integrate with pretty much every payroll company. So if a company says, you know what, I'm with Paychex, I'm going to switch over to Prime Pay payroll, we can still be that vendor of choice without missing a beat. They don't have to change anything because the reporting, the integration, the communication between the payroll company and our platform is all there. So we know of any changes that may be made if a new employee comes on board, if an employee leaves the company, if they make a change to their contribution, it's all automated through our payroll integration in our platform, which creates a positive and a better employee experience. It only takes roughly 5 to 6 minutes to set it up. And it's a complete solution, meaning the full bundled subscription solution, where typically in a 401k plan, you may have to have a record keeper or a TPA, where you may have to outsource those services for an additional fee. We keep it all in-house to make it that one single source peace of mind solution for business owners to say, okay, I'm getting compliant, I'm getting a retirement set up, I'm reaping the benefits of the Secure Act, I'm within means of the California retirement, I'm not going to get red flagged, and Human Interest does all the dirty work for me. Employees just have to go in and set it up, and we provide all the reporting at the end of the year that they need for their tax returns and so forth. So then we'll kind of go into automation and integration. We have a very streamlined employee onboarding experience. 401k contributions get processed automatically. And then it's a seamless sync with employee details. So we kind of touched on that, but that's been our bread and butter in helping businesses grow and adapt to this mandate and the Secure Act at the same time, helping them, retain and attract good people to their company. And that's what we're seeing in our space today. And then just to kind of give you a scenario of where we fit, right? So we have 3 different types of tiered programs. Essentials is more for like the solo K or solo entrepreneurs that want to say, hey, you know what? I may need to start saving some more money for my retirement. Maybe I want to shelter some more of those tax dollars, right? So we have a program for solo entrepreneurs. And then the complete is the most popular. This covers everything from the support model to the liability around the 316 fiduciary service provider. So we act as a record keeper. We do the 5,500 form filing at the end of the year. And it's a subscription model. So you can kind of get an idea for those that maybe are fairly savvy at math. If you put the numbers together, $150 a month for a course of a year is about, was that $1,800? So if you think about the Secure Act, companies that are using us today are essentially getting almost a free 401k for the next 3 years based off of this credit, right? And then we do have a concierge service, which is a little more in detail, where you get a dedicated account support specialist, if that's what you would like to have as well, which is our team in Utah that we have our support center. So these are just kind of the 3 service subscription models that Human Interest provides, where we support the Secure Act. We help make it easy for businesses to adapt to it, to reap the benefits, and really start focusing more on their business and hiring the right people for their organization. And then I have my QR code here. If you have any questions or want more information on this stuff, I'd be happy to send any information over to you guys. So let's go into the next slide here. So in summary, what does the Secure Act 2.0 mean for small businesses, right? It encourages employees to participate. That's kind of the whole goal here. As we start to see a shift in Social Security benefits, you read more about the depletion of funds every year about that's something I am cautiously, monitoring for, even like my mother who's in retirement getting Social Security, right? So, in 3 years, essentially, it's going to encourage employees to be auto-enrolled into these programs already. And for those that take advantage of it now, you'll get double the tax credits for new plans, which essentially, like I said, is covered up to 100% of the fees that you would pay to any provider, right? I use the case of Human Interest because our fees are low cost. You may be using other providers out there that may be more costlier than Human Interest, but you'll still be able to get that $5,000 tax credit at the end of the year. So make sure you're aware of that, and feel free to reach out to me if you need any questions or clarification on that. But also adds new credits for employers and contributions. So if an employer decides to match, there's more tax credits, right? The $1,000 for each employee that is 100K salary or less, right? So a match really does go a long way for employers, because sometimes they'll get the perception like, oh, I don't want to pay for a match, or, they think a match is already in part of the 401k fundamental that's required. That's not the case. But for those employers that do like to offer a match, there's even more benefits with the Secure Act, right? And then also, as employees, even myself with my company, that goes a long way. I enjoy what I do. I love working for the company I do, and having a match really helps my financial future, right? And those are things that we all want to start thinking about as employees. So, you know what? I want to thank everybody today. What I did here, there's a QR code. So what we did, I told Doug, for the first 15 people that registered, and we'll go through those, I'm going to send each of you a Yeti Rambler in the top right corner here. You can see from my company. So look forward to getting those out. If you weren't in the top 15 or you want some additional swag, feel free to fill out this QR code and I'll send it over to you. If you want to go through Doug directly, feel free to ping Doug and I'll be more than happy to get these mailed out to you. So it's a Bluetooth speaker. Who doesn't want a Human Interest Bluetooth speaker, right? A pair of socks to keep your feet warm, and then another little tumbler that we have here. So we're more than happy to send those out, just for taking the time today, learning about this stuff, and see if it resonates with any of you. And any of you have questions, feel free to let me know.